The sterile hum of Portland Children's Hospital filled the air like an endless prayer. It was 2 in the morning, and the pediatric ICU glowed in the blue-white light of sleepless machines. Beeping monitors, the low hiss of oxygen, the soft shuffle of nurses' shoes, all of it wove into a rhythm that felt too steady for a world falling apart. Chloe Clark sat beside the hospital bed, her hands gripping the cold metal rail, afraid that if she let go, her daughter would slip away. Zoe's small frame looked swallowed by the sheets, 8 years old, a riot of life stilled by fragile blood. Her dark curls, usually bouncing with laughter, now fanned across a pillow like wilted petals. The monitor blinked beep, beep, beep. Each pulse was a heartbeat borrowed from time itself. Ms. Clark said, a voice behind her. Dr. Olivia Grant, the hematologist on call, approached with that particular stillness doctors wear when words might break a soul. We've finished the genetic panel. Zoe's condition is critical. She's in acute hemolytic anemia. Her body is destroying its own blood cells. Chloe turned her face, drawn tight. You can transfuse her, right? You have blood. Olivia hesitated. We've searched the national database twice. Zoe's blood type AB negative. Duffy negative is beyond rare. Less than 1% of the population. We have only one compatible donor currently listed in the system. Then get them, Chloe said, standing, voice trembling but sharp. Whoever they are, I'll fly them here. I'll pay whatever it takes. The doctor's eyes softened. That's the problem. The donor on record is Nathan White. The world seemed to tilt. Chloe's breath caught. Her fingers tightened around the bed rail until her knuckles went white. That's impossible, she whispered. Nathan White is dead. Dr. Grant glanced down at her tablet. The file was updated 2 months ago. New health data. He's not dead, Ms. Clark. He's alive. Alive. The word hit Chloe like thunder, through water, distorted, slow, but devastating. She sank back into the chair, her pulse roaring in her ears. 8 years ago, she'd watched the news reports of the private jet explosion off Puget Sound. Nathan's company had issued a statement, a public memorial, a funeral she hadn't attended because grief had felt too small a word for what she carried. She had buried him in silence, buried the love, the betrayal, and the secret growing inside her. Now that secret was lying unconscious in front of her, fighting for life. Are you sure she managed? Could it be a mistake? Dr. Grant shook her head. No mistake. The DNA profile was refreshed through his company's medical partner. He's out there, Ms. Clark. Somewhere. The room seemed to close in, the walls buzzing. Chloe stared at Zoe, the child who had Nathan's gray-blue eyes, the color of morning storms. Every day since the girl's birth, she had wondered what kind of father he might have been, what kind of man he had become. Now the answer was suddenly more than memory. It was necessity. I can try to reach him, Olivia offered. Through the registry or... No. Chloe interrupted softly. I'll call him. The doctor hesitated. You have his number? Chloe's lips trembled in a faint, bitter smile. I never forgot it. Outside the ICU, she found an empty waiting room. Plastic chairs, vending machine hum, the hollow echo of too much waiting. Her phone felt heavier than it should. She scrolled through the contact list down to a name she hadn't seen in 8 years, Nathan Whitework. The name was like a scar, healed, but not forgotten. She hesitated. What if he didn't answer? What if he hung up? Or worse, what if he remembered and didn't care? Her thumb hovered over the screen. Then she pressed call. The ringing filled her ear, each tone a reminder of the distance between past and present. Once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th ring, a voice, low, steady, achingly familiar, cut through the silence. Nathan White. For a moment, Chloe couldn't speak. The sound of him, the texture of his voice, the calm authority that used to draw entire rooms into his orbit, ripped open a door she'd sealed long ago. She exhaled, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathan. It's me. Silence. Then a sharp inhale on the other end. Chloe. The way he said her name, it wasn't disbelief. It was something raw. Regret, maybe. Need. It's been a long time, he said quietly. I don't have time for the past, she cut in. My daughter's dying. Another silence. He caught his breath. Your daughter. Yes. Her throat burned. She needs a blood transfusion. You're her only match. The line went quiet. Then softly. How old is she? 8. His exhale was slow, deliberate. When he spoke again, his voice had changed lower, steadier, a tremor of something she hadn't heard before. Chloe, is she mine? The question shattered her. She pressed her eyes shut, tears spilling over. Yes. A breath. Then his tone hardened, not cold, but resolute. Where are you? Portland Children's Hospital. I'll be there in 45 minutes. Nathan. But the line was already dead. Chloe stared at the phone, her reflection ghost-like in the black screen. 45 minutes. She hadn't seen him in 8 years. He didn't know Zoe. He didn't know the nights she'd held a crying baby while reading news of his death, or how she'd built a life from the ashes of their silence. Now he was coming, and everything she'd buried was clawing its way back to the surface. She walked back to the ICU, to Zoe's bedside. The machines blinked steady and indifferent. Chloe brushed a curl from her daughter's forehead and whispered, "Hold on, baby. Help is coming." Zoe's small fingers twitched in sleep as if answering. The city outside was beginning to wake rain, streaking the hospital windows. Gray light spilling over Portland's skyline. Somewhere above the clouds, a black helicopter sliced through the dawn, bearing the man Chloe once loved, once lost, and never truly forgot. In 45 minutes, he would walk through those doors, and nothing would ever be the same. If you've ever loved someone so much that you had to choose between your pride and the life of the person you love, you understand Chloe. If you've ever lost someone only to realize your heart never stopped waiting, you understand Nathan. And if you believe that love never dies, only sleeps until awakened by hope, then stay, because the next part of this story will make you believe in miracles again. Rain drizzled against the glass walls of the hospital as Chloe waited. Every minute felt like a lifetime. Her mind ran in loops, 8 years of silence, of raising a child built from both love and heartbreak, now converging into this single hour. Then she heard it, the muffled thrum of rotor blades. The sound grew louder, vibrating through the ceiling tiles. Nurses turned toward the window. Dr. Olivia Grant entered the ICU, her expression tense, but steady. "He's here," she said simply. Chloe stood, her hands trembling. For a moment she couldn't move. Her legs felt rooted in the sterile floor. Then, with a breath that hurt to take, she walked to the door. Down the hallway the elevator opened, and there he was, Nathan White. He looked nothing like the man she remembered, and yet everything about him was still unmistakable. His hair was shorter, streaked with gray at the temples. His tailored suit was wrinkled from travel, his eyes shadowed but alert. The same storm-gray eyes that Zoe had inherited. When his gaze met hers, the air between them changed like a room pulling in its breath. 8 years collapsed into a single heartbeat. "Chloe," he said, voice rougher than she remembered. "Nathan," she managed. His name tasted like salt and thyme. He took a step closer. "Where is she?" Chloe turned toward the ICU window. Through the glass, Zoe lay motionless, her chest rising and falling beneath the tangle of wires and tubes. The sight seemed to knock the air out of him. "That's her," Chloe whispered. "Zoe." Nathan's lips parted, but no sound came. He moved to the glass, his hand pressing against it, as if he could reach through. "She looks like you," Chloe said softly. "She has your eyes." He closed his. For a moment, he wasn't a CEO or a man who'd faked his death. He was just a father seeing his child for the first time. Dr. Grant cleared her throat gently. "Mr. White, we'll need to draw blood immediately. The compatibility profile is confirmed, but we need fresh testing before the transfusion." Nathan nodded wordlessly, rolling up his sleeve. "Take whatever you need." Olivia led him to a small procedure room. Chloe stood outside watching as the nurse tied the band around his arm. Blood filled the vial, dark red, thick, alive. The irony wasn't lost on her. The same blood that had once made her heart race now might save her daughter's life. When Nathan returned, his face was pale, but determined. "How long before the transfusion?" 40 minutes if the lab confirms the match, Olivia said. He turned back to Chloe. "You should have told me." Chloe's jaw tightened. "You were dead, Nathan. How exactly was I supposed to call you?" "I didn't die," he said quietly. "I disappeared." She met his eyes. "And you thought that made it better?" "No. But it kept you safe." His voice broke slightly, and for the first time she saw exhaustion beyond the polished exterior. What they told the world wasn't true. The explosion was staged. My father's company was under investigation. There were threats, blackmail. I had to vanish before it reached you. And you didn't think I deserved to know? Chloe's voice trembled with anger. "You let me bury you, Nathan. You let me raise our daughter alone." He took a breath, guilt flickering across his face. "If I'd told you, they would have come for you too." "For her." Chloe shook her head. "Don't you dare use her as your excuse." Silence stretched heavy and raw. The only sound was the beeping from Zoe's monitor, a metronome of fragile life. Nathan's voice dropped, almost pleading. "Let me make it right." "You can't," she said. "You can only keep her alive. After that, we're strangers again." He nodded slowly, but the look in his eyes said otherwise. "We'll see." When the transfusion began, the world seemed to still. Nathan sat beside the bed, his blood flowing through a tube that linked him to Zoe. Chloe stood across from him, hands clasped, watching the quiet exchange life, leaving one body, entering another. The intimacy of it terrified her. Zoe's small fingers twitched. A faint color began to return to her cheeks. Nathan's gaze softened, tears glinting under the fluorescent light. She's beautiful." "She's strong," Chloe corrected. "She's you," he whispered. They sat in silence as the machines hummed. Outside, rain streaked the glass city lights, blurring into watercolor. For a fleeting moment, it was as if time itself bowed to this fragile reunion, a mother, a father, and the child who unknowingly bound them. Dr. Grant entered quietly. "The transfusion is stabilizing. If she responds well, she'll wake soon." Chloe nodded, but her eyes stayed on Nathan. There were 1,000 things she wanted to say. Anger, grief, the years she'd survived without him. But none of them mattered now. Not while Zoe's chest rose steady and sure. Nathan broke the silence first. "Chloe, I never stopped thinking about you." She didn't answer. She couldn't. The walls she'd built were cracking, and she didn't know if she had the strength to rebuild them again. Hours later, when the transfusion finished, Zoe's monitor beeped with stronger rhythm. Chloe leaned in, brushing her daughter's curls. "Sweetheart," she whispered, "you're okay." Zoe stirred, eyelids fluttering open. Her voice was small, raspy. "Mom, I'm here, baby." The girl's gaze drifted to the man beside her. "Who's that?" Nathan swallowed, his voice trembling. I'm your friend." Zoe blinked. "You have eyes like mine." Chloe's breath hitched. Nathan smiled weakly. "I guess we do." She smiled faintly before drifting back into sleep. And just like that, the first bridge between them had been built, not with words, but with blood. Morning sunlight filtered through the hospital blinds, tracing gold lines across the sterile floor. Zoe was still sleeping, her breathing even. The transfusion had worked, for now she was safe. Chloe sat in the armchair, exhaustion etched into her face. She hadn't slept in almost 40 hours. Across from her, Nathan leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the small figure in the bed. His white shirt sleeves were rolled up, faint traces of the bandage still around his arm, the arm that had saved their daughter. For the first time, Chloe studied him properly. The man sitting there wasn't the same one who had once commanded boardrooms and headlines. The sharp arrogance was gone, replaced by something quieter, heavier. But beneath it, the fire that had once drawn her in was still there, only tempered by guilt and time. "She looks peaceful," Nathan said softly. Chloe nodded, her voice low. "It's the first time she's slept without pain in months." Nathan's gaze lingered on Zoe, his throat working. "I didn't even know she existed." "I know," Chloe said. "That was the point." He looked at her, then really looked at her, and she saw the same contradiction she'd always feared in him. Strength and vulnerability, control and chaos, all wrapped into a man who never learned how to love without burning everything around him. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked again, quieter this time. "Even after everything." Chloe's laugh was hollow. "Because I buried you, Nathan. I watched the news, saw the wreckage, the fire, your name carved into a plaque. Do you have any idea what that does to someone?" Nathan closed his eyes, a muscle in his jaw twitching. "If I could have told you." "But you didn't," she snapped. "You disappeared. You let me grieve a man who was still breathing." He didn't argue. Instead, he looked down at his hands, fingers interlaced, knuckles white. "I thought I was protecting you." "From what?" "From the people who tried to destroy me," he said. "You think the world believed that explosion was an accident? It wasn't. It was a warning. Someone wanted control of the company. Someone who would have used you to get to me." Chloe stared at him, disbelief etched on her face. "And so you faked your death. You left me pregnant alone in a world that kept whispering your name. You call that protection?" Nathan looked up, guilt heavy in his eyes. "I didn't know about the baby." Chloe turned away, blinking back tears. "Exactly." Silence fell between them. Only the soft rhythm of Zoe's breathing filled the room. A knock on the door broke the tension. Dr. Olivia Grant stepped in, holding a tablet. "Zoe's new counts look strong," she said, smiling gently. "She's responding well to the transfusion. The next 24 hours are critical, but if everything holds, she'll be out of danger." Chloe exhaled the air, leaving her lungs like a sigh of relief she'd been holding for years. "Thank you, Doctor." Olivia nodded, then looked between them. "You should both rest. She's stable for now." When the doctor left, Nathan stood stretching. "I'll get coffee." Chloe frowned. "You don't have to." "I need to move," he said quietly. "Being still makes it worse." She didn't argue. When he left the room, she finally allowed herself to breathe. Every emotion she had spent 8 years burying was fighting its way to the surface. Love, fury, loss, longing. She didn't know which would win. Downstairs, the hospital cafe was nearly empty. Nathan ordered 2 black coffees and leaned against the counter, staring at his reflection in the steel. He barely recognized himself. The last time he'd seen Chloe, they'd been standing on a balcony in Seattle, arguing over the future, hers bright and independent, his buried in business and expectations. He had chosen ambition over her. Then fate had chosen for him. "Mr. White," the voice pulled him back. Dr. Grant stood beside him, her expression professional, but curious. "Doctor," he greeted. "I wanted to say thank you," she said. "You might have saved her life." Nathan nodded, eyes distant. "She's my daughter. I just didn't know it until now." Olivia hesitated. "You said the explosion wasn't an accident." Nathan's eyes flicked toward her. "You read the file." "Some of it," she admitted. "Your blood record came through a private channel. It wasn't public. Someone added it manually." Nathan's brow furrowed. "Manually?" "Yes. About 2 months ago. Which means someone knew you were alive and wanted the world to find out. He went still. The sound of the coffee machine faded, replaced by a cold clarity. If someone had uploaded his records, it wasn't an accident. Someone wanted him exposed. "Do you know who did it?" Olivia asked. Nathan shook his head slowly. Not yet. But he had an idea. Upstairs, Chloe sat beside Zoe's bed, brushing her daughter's hair. She looked at the small curve of Zoe's lips, so much like Nathan's, when he used to smile, before power, before ambition, before the fall. A shadow fell across the door. She turned. Eleanor White, Nathan's mother. Impeccably dressed, posture straight as marble, Eleanor stepped inside without knocking. Her perfume, a cool blend of white orchid and steel, filled the room before she spoke. "Chloe Clark," she said, each syllable clipped. "I thought I might find you here." Chloe stood wary. "Mrs. White, I assume Nathan has explained the situation, if you mean why he faked his death." "Yes," Chloe replied. "If you mean why he thought that made sense." "No." Eleanor smiled, thin and practiced. "You always were clever, but clever doesn't protect you in our world." "This isn't your world anymore," Chloe said, voice steady. "It's mine, and Zoe's." "Zoe," Eleanor repeated, eyes flicking toward the child. Her gaze softened for a heartbeat, just one. "She looks like him. She's strong," Chloe said again. "Yes," Eleanor murmured. "Strong enough to survive the scandal, I hope." Chloe's stomach twisted. "What scandal?" Eleanor turned, her heels clicking on the tile. "The media already knows Nathan is alive. By morning, they'll know he has a child. A black child." The words hit Chloe like ice water. "You can't control what they say," Eleanor continued. "But you can choose how this story ends. Take the settlement Nathan's lawyers will offer. Move away. Let this fade." Chloe's eyes flared. "You think I'd sell my daughter's dignity for your family's reputation?" Eleanor looked at her coolly. "My dear, everyone sells something. The question is price." The door opened. Nathan stepped inside holding 2 cups of coffee. His eyes immediately hardened at the sight. "Mother," he said. "Nathan." Eleanor's tone turned velvet. "I was just welcoming your guest." "This isn't your house," Nathan said coldly. "And Chloe isn't my guest." Their gazes locked steel against fire. Eleanor sighed, the sound graceful, weary, dangerous. "You've changed." "No," Nathan said. "I've stopped pretending." Eleanor studied him a moment longer, then smiled faintly, the smile of a woman who never truly loses. "Then I'll see you at the press conference tomorrow." "What press conference?" Chloe asked. Eleanor's eyes glimmered. "The one announcing that my son is miraculously alive. The world deserves to know, before it digs up something uglier." Then she turned, leaving the faint scent of orchids and war behind her. Nathan set the coffee down and rubbed his face. "She doesn't give warnings. She gives ultimatums." Chloe crossed her arms. "And what's her goal?" "To erase me or Zoe." He looked up. "She'll try. But she won't win." For the first time, Chloe heard the quiet fury under his calm. The man who had once built an empire was still in there. Only now his battle wasn't for power. It was for them. Zoe shifted in her sleep. Chloe turned toward her, voice soft. "She's waking." Nathan leaned closer, and for a heartbeat they stood side by side, the past and future, colliding under hospital light. Outside, the city of Portland began to buzz with breaking news. Nathan White, the billionaire who came back from the dead, and somewhere in the noise, a storm was brewing. The next morning, the world had changed. By dawn, the parking lot outside Portland Children's Hospital swarmed with cameras and satellite vans. Reporters shouted questions through bullhorns, their voices bouncing off the rain-slick walls. "Nathan, are the rumors true? Who's the child, or White? Is it true you faked your own death?" The story had broken overnight, fueled by leaks from someone inside the White family's public relations team. The headline dominated every news network. Nathan White, billionaire, returns from the dead. Secret child. From the hospital window, Chloe watched the chaos unfold. Her reflection in the glass looked pale and defiant. Behind her, Zoe stirred softly, unaware that her existence had just become global news. Nathan stood near the door phone pressed to his ear, his voice tight and cold. I said no statements, Eric. Cancel the press conference. We don't negotiate with rumors. A pause. His jaw tightened. Then tell my mother that if she wants to control the story, she'll have to do it without me. He hung up, exhaling sharply. For the first time, Chloe saw him look tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep could fix, but the kind born from years of running from ghosts. She's enjoying this, Chloe said quietly. She's playing chess, Nathan replied. And right now, we're her pawns. Chloe crossed her arms. Then maybe it's time to flip the board. An hour later, the hospital's PR team asked Nathan to use the staff entrance to avoid the media. But it was too late. As they stepped into the hallway, a voice called out sharply, Nathan. Miles Bennett stood by the elevator, sleek suit, smug smile. The kind of man who always smelled like money and victory. The CEO of Arcadia Dynamics, Nathan's oldest rival, and the vulture who had tried to buy White Industries after the crash. Well, well, Miles said, hands spread wide. The Lazarus of Silicon Valley. I almost sent flowers. Nathan's expression didn't change. You should have sent your condolences. Oh, I did. To your shareholders. Miles's grin sharpened. Imagine their surprise when you turned up alive with a new family. Chloe stepped closer, protective instinct flaring. This is a hospital, Mr. Bennett, not your playground. Miles's eyes flicked toward her. You must be Chloe Clark. I've read about you. Marketing genius, single mother. Quite the story. He smiled cruelly. Now the world knows why. Nathan's voice dropped quiet and dangerous. You'll stay away from her. Miles chuckled. Relax, Nathan. I'm just admiring your comeback. Though between us, your mother's doing damage control. She called me last night. Seems she's open to restructuring White Industries under my guidance. Nathan took a step forward, fury flashing like lightning behind his eyes. Touch my company and I'll bury yours. Miles's smirk only widened. Ah, there's the man I remember. He leaned in, lowering his voice. But tell me, what's it like coming back from the dead, only to find out your ghost has better press than you? Before Nathan could answer, security intervened. Miles tipped an invisible hat at Chloe and walked away, his laughter echoing down the corridor. Nathan didn't move for several seconds. Then softly, he won't stop until he has everything. Chloe looked at him. Then don't let him. Later that day, Zoe woke again, brighter this time. The nurses removed a few tubes, and for the first time, she could sit up. Nathan helped adjust her pillows, while Chloe fetched water. Thank you. Zoe murmured, her voice, small but stronger. Are you the man from yesterday? Nathan smiled faintly. Yeah, it's me. Mom says you helped me. I did. He hesitated. You were very brave. Zoe tilted her head. You look scared. The honesty in her voice startled him. Do I? She nodded. You look like you missed someone. Nathan's throat tightened. Maybe I do. Who? He smiled sadly. Someone I should never have left. Zoe looked at him, curious, but gentle. Then maybe you should find them again. Chloe, standing at the door, had heard everything. Her hands trembled slightly, but she said nothing. When Nathan turned toward her, their eyes met, and for a fleeting moment the air between them felt fragile, like the pause before confession. By afternoon, Nathan's mother had arranged the press conference despite his objections. Every news outlet in Seattle was preparing to live stream from the White Industries headquarters the following day. His phone buzzed nonstop with messages from the board, investors, and journalists. Every ring was another thread pulling him back into the world he had escaped. He stood by the hospital window phone in hand, watching raindrops race each other down the glass. "I can't leave her," he murmured. "You might have to," Chloe said behind him. "If you don't face them now, they'll twist this into something worse." He turned. "You think I care what they say? I think you care about what happens to Zoe if they come for you." That silenced him. She was right. As evening fell, the hospital quieted. Nathan stepped out for air, walking to the rooftop terrace. The city stretched before him, gray, wet, restless. The same skyline that had once crowned his success now felt like a judgment. "Running again, Mr. White." The voice came from behind him, Dr. Olivia Grant leaning against the doorframe. Her tone was half teasing, half accusing. "Just breathing," he said. She walked over, folding her arms. "You know this won't end here, right? You don't fake your death, reappear with a secret child, and expect the world to applaud." Nathan chuckled softly. "No, but I didn't come back for the world." For Chloe then, Olivia's eyes softened. Or for the girl. He looked out at the skyline. "Both. I think I owe them more than I can ever repay." Olivia studied him a moment. "You can start by telling Chloe the full truth. Not just about your family or the company. About the night you vanished." Nathan didn't answer, but the way his jaw tightened told her enough. "Whatever you're hiding," she said quietly, "she deserves to know before the press does." Then she turned, leaving him alone with the city and his ghosts. Nathan stared at the rain until his reflection blurred. He thought about the explosion, the screams, the deal his father had struck with men who didn't wear suits, but carried power just the same. He'd walked away from that fire, but part of him had burned with it. And now the past was coming back for him, for Chloe, for Zoe. The morning of the press conference arrived like a storm that refused to wait. Nathan had barely slept. Every hour his phone had buzzed with calls. He didn't answer lawyers, journalists, even former friends who wanted his side. He sat on the edge of the hospital bed, watching Zoe sleep, her tiny chest rising and falling in rhythm with the soft beeping of machines. Chloe entered quietly, holding a cup of coffee. "You look like hell," she said, setting it beside him. He gave a tired smile. "That's generous." She didn't smile back. "Are you going to Seattle?" Nathan exhaled. "I have to. If I don't speak, they'll turn this into something worse. For Zoe, for you." "Eleanor will twist it no matter what you say," Chloe warned. "She's been controlling your image since the day you could walk." "I know." He looked at her eyes, hollow but steady. "That's why I won't let her speak for me this time." Chloe folded her arms. "And after the press conference, you'll disappear again." "No," he said firmly, "not this time." For a moment, their eyes held unspoken history thick in the air. Then Zoe stirred, blinking awake. "Mom," she murmured. Chloe smiled softly, brushing her daughter's hair. "Morning, sweetheart." Zoe looked at Nathan and gave a sleepy grin. "You're still here." "I said I would be," he whispered. "Good," she said. "I had a dream you turned into a bird and flew away." Nathan chuckled. "Guess that's one dream I'll make sure doesn't come true." By noon, the White Industries headquarters in Seattle was a sea of lights and microphones. The company's iconic glass tower gleamed against a gray sky, banners fluttering with the white logo, a ghostly W that seemed almost mocking now. Inside, the air hummed with tension. Eleanor White stood at the podium, pristine as always, pearls gleaming smile sharp. The press waited in silence as cameras rolled. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began smoothly, "thank you for coming. Today marks a day of rebirth for our family and our company. My son, Nathan White, is alive." Flashes exploded across the room. Nathan stepped out from behind the curtain. The noise was deafening, reporters, shouting, photographers lunging forward. Eleanor reached for his arm, as if to guide him to the microphone, but he shook her off gently and faced the crowd. "I owe everyone the truth," he began. His voice, though calm, carried weight. 8 years ago, a plane crash was reported. My death was declared. What wasn't reported was that the explosion wasn't an accident. Gasps rippled through the hall. Eleanor stiffened. White Industries, Nathan continued, was being blackmailed by a group of investors connected to Arcadia Dynamics. I found evidence enough to destroy careers, maybe even lives. The only way to survive was to vanish. He paused, looking at the sea of cameras. I lost everything when I made that choice. My company, my integrity, the woman I loved. The audience went still. Eleanor's jaw tightened, but Nathan pressed on. I came back because I realized some things are worth more than money or power. There's a little girl in Portland fighting for her life, my daughter Zoe Clark. She's why I'm standing here, and she's the reason I won't run again. The room erupted in noise, shouts, flashes, chaos. Eleanor's face drained of color, her control slipping. Miles Bennett, watching from the back, smirked like a man who had just seen blood in the water. Back in Portland, Chloe watched the broadcast on the hospital TV. Her breath caught when Nathan said Zoe's name. Her heart twisted with a mix of pride and fear. "You fool," she whispered. "You just painted a target on her." The door opened suddenly. Olivia rushed in, phone in hand, face pale. "Chloe, we have a problem." Chloe turned sharply. "What is it?" "The hospital servers were breached," Olivia said breathlessly. "Someone hacked Zoe's medical file, her DNA data. It's online." Chloe froze. "What?" "They leaked it to the media," Olivia said. "They're claiming the transfusion violated federal protocol because Nathan used a private blood supply. If they push this narrative, the hospital and Zoe could get dragged into a legal mess." Chloe's pulse hammered. Who would do that? Olivia hesitated. Someone with access to both corporate networks. Arcadia. Or? She stopped. Or Eleanor. Chloe finished bitterly. In Seattle, after the conference, Nathan stormed out of the building. The moment he reached the street, cameras swarmed. He ignored them, heading straight to the car. His driver turned pale. "Sir, there's been a leak." Nathan snatched the tablet from the man's hands. The headline glared up at him. "Illegal blood transfusion tied to Nathan White's secret child." His stomach turned. "Get me back to Portland. Now." When he arrived, the hospital was in uproar. Lawyers from White Industries were already in the lobby trying to contain the press. Chloe stood at the nurse's station, arms around Zoe, fury simmering beneath her calm. "You shouldn't have said her name," she said as soon as she saw him. "They would have found out anyway," Nathan argued. "At least now they hear it from me." "That's not protection, Nathan. That's exposure." "She's my daughter," he said, voice cracking. "I'm not hiding her." Chloe stepped closer, her tone low and trembling. "You hid me once. You buried the truth for your own survival. Don't do it again under the name of love." Her words hit him like a slap. For a long moment he said nothing. Then his phone rang. It was Olivia. "Nathan," she said, her voice urgent. "Zoe's blood results show something unusual. Something we didn't see before." "What kind of unusual?" "There's a new antigen expression. Her blood cells. They're mutating in a way that could help others with her condition. She might be the key to a treatment." Nathan went still. "You mean her blood could save lives?" "Yes. But if the public learns that she'll be hunted for it, by companies, by labs, by people who see her as property." Chloe heard the last line, her heart freezing. "Then no one can ever know." Nathan met her gaze. For the first time they were on the same side again, not as lovers, but as parents standing between their child and the world. Outside, thunder rolled over Portland. On the horizon, the storm they'd both tried to outrun was finally arriving. The storm raged over Portland all night. Lightning flashed across the city skyline, thunder rolling through the glass walls of the hospital. Inside, the world had narrowed to one small room, the room where Nathan White sat beside the daughter he had only just met, and the woman he'd never stopped loving. For the first time in years, Nathan didn't think about shareholders or losses. His empire could crumble. It no longer mattered. All that mattered was the child sleeping peacefully against the faint hum of monitors. When Zoe stirred, Nathan reached instinctively for her hand. She was warm now, color returning to her cheeks. Her eyes fluttered open, sleepy and soft. "Hey," he whispered. She smiled faintly. "Hey yourself." He laughed quietly, and she blinked at the sound as if memorizing it. Chloe entered a moment later carrying a tray of soup. She froze when she saw Nathan helping Zoe sit up gently, adjusting her pillow. The sight did something strange to her heart. Something she wasn't ready to name. "You're supposed to be resting," Chloe said softly. Nathan glanced up. "So is she." "I'm fine, Mom," Zoe said, though her voice still had that fragile tremor. "Doctors say she can go home tomorrow," Olivia announced, entering behind Chloe. "But she'll need checkups every week, and I'll need both of you to stay off the media radar." Chloe nodded relief mixed with fear. "Thank you, Olivia." Olivia hesitated, glancing at Nathan. "And Nathan, whatever you plan next, tread carefully. The world doesn't forgive miracles it can't explain." Then she left her warning lingering like the echo of thunder. 3 days later, Chloe signed the discharge papers. Reporters had surrounded the hospital, so Nathan used a private exit to escort them to a waiting SUV. It was the first time the three of them stepped outside together, not as fugitives, not as strangers, but as something almost resembling a family. The rain had finally stopped. Portland's streets gleamed like mirrors under the gray sun. Zoe pressed her face to the window as the city blurred past. "Are we going home?" she asked. "Yes, sweetheart," Chloe said. Nathan added quietly, "If your mom doesn't mind, I thought maybe you two could stay somewhere safe, just for a while." "Safe?" Chloe asked, suspicion creeping in. "I own a place outside the city. It's quiet. No cameras, no reporters. No one can find you there." Chloe hesitated. "You mean no one can find you there?" He met her eyes. "It's the same thing now." The house was nothing like she expected. Hidden beyond a stretch of cedar forest, it sat on a rise overlooking the Columbia River, glass wood and stone woven into the landscape like it had grown there. Inside, everything was simple but warm. The air smelled faintly of cedar and rain. "Wow," Zoe whispered as they entered. "It's like a treehouse for giants." Nathan smiled. "You can pick any room you like." She ran off to explore, her laughter echoing through the hall. Chloe watched, her arms folded, heart tight. "You planned this. I planned a life I never got to have," Nathan said quietly. "I built this place when I thought I might come back someday." Chloe frowned. "And now that you have, now I'm trying not to ruin it." That night, the house was quiet, except for the rain returning in soft drizzles. Zoe had fallen asleep in a guest room filled with books and stuffed animals Nathan had bought that afternoon. Chloe stood on the porch watching the river glow under the moonlight. She sensed him before she heard him. "You can't sleep either?" Nathan asked, stepping beside her. "Too much noise in my head," she said. He leaned on the railing. "Same." For a while they just listened to the river. Then Chloe spoke. "When Zoe was born, she didn't cry right away. The doctors were worried, but then she looked at me and smiled. I remember thinking maybe she already knew she'd have to be strong." Nathan's voice broke. "She gets that from you." Chloe turned to him. "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Say things that make it hard to hate you." Nathan gave a small, rueful smile. "I never wanted you to hate me. You succeeded anyway." He nodded. "I know." A gust of wind brushed past, carrying the scent of wet cedar. The silence between them wasn't cold anymore. It was something deeper, older, threaded with pain and familiarity. "Why did you really disappear, Nathan?" she asked quietly. The truth, not the press version. He looked away, his jaw tightening. "There was someone inside the company, someone dangerous. I uncovered an offshore account, tied to government contracts, money laundering tech surveillance things that could destroy people in power. They tried to kill me. My father made a deal to keep the family name out of it. In return, I vanished. And you went along with it. I thought I could come back when it was safe. But it never was. Chloe's eyes filled with tears. You should have trusted me. I did, he said softly. That's why I left. Because if I'd stayed, they would have killed you too. Inside, a small sound broke the silence, Zoe calling out in her sleep. Both turned instinctively toward the door. Chloe moved first, but Nathan followed, hesitating at the threshold. Zoe was dreaming, murmuring words they couldn't catch. Chloe stroked her hair until she settled. Nathan stood in the doorway, watching the two of them, this small world he'd nearly lost. When Zoe's breathing calmed, Chloe looked up and found him still there. She looks peaceful, he whispered. She is for now, Chloe said, her voice soft. But she's going to ask questions we can't answer. Nathan nodded slowly. Then we'll tell her what we can, and protect her from what we can't. The next morning, sunlight spilled into the kitchen. The smell of coffee mingled with pancakes, Nathan's attempt at cooking. Chloe walked in, arms crossed, suppressing a smile. You cook now, she asked. Trying to learn, he said, flipping a pancake that landed lopsided on the plate. Zoe giggled. It looks like Oregon. Then it's perfect, Nathan said, grinning. For the first time in days, the sound of laughter filled the house. Chloe stood in the doorway watching them, a bittersweet warmth rising in her chest. It was domestic, ordinary, dangerous. She knew it couldn't last, not with Eleanor and Miles tightening their grip, not with the secret in Zoe's blood waiting to be discovered. But for that morning, she let herself believe. Just for a little while, they were a family. The morning peace didn't last. By midday, the world found them again. It started with a phone call. Nathan was on the porch fixing a loose piece of the railing when his phone buzzed. The number was blocked. His instincts told him to ignore it, but something deeper told him not to. He answered. A man's voice, low and smooth, came through the line. Mr. White, it's been a while. Nathan froze. Who is this? I represent people who once handled delicate arrangements for your father. The voice lingered, deliberate. It seems his agreements didn't die with him. And now that your little secret has become public knowledge, we're concerned about what that child carries in her veins. Nathan's blood went cold. If you touch her, you misunderstand, the man said calmly. We don't want to harm her. Quite the opposite. We want to study her. Nathan's grip tightened. That will never happen. The line went dead. He stood there for several seconds, heart pounding, the weight of the past pressing down again. Inside, Chloe and Zoe were laughing over a pancake disaster. The sound should have comforted him, but it only made the dread sharper. He walked in trying to look calm. Chloe noticed instantly. What happened? Nothing, he said too quickly. Chloe crossed her arms. Don't lie to me. I've seen that look before. Who called? Nathan hesitated. Someone from my father's old network. They know about Zoe. Her face drained of color. What do they want? They said they want to study her. Chloe's voice cracked. Study her. She's a child. Nathan, not a lab experiment. I know. So what do we do? Nathan's jaw clenched. We run. That evening, rain returned to the valley. Nathan packed essentials into a duffel bag, passports, cash, burner phones. Chloe helped silently, her movements precise, but trembling. Where can we go that they can't find us? She asked. There's a cabin in Montana, Nathan said. Off-grid. My father used it for testing satellite prototypes. No one knows it exists. Zoe came into the room, clutching her stuffed fox. Are we going on a trip? Chloe forced a smile. Yes, baby, just for a while. Cool, Zoe said. Can we bring Mr. Fox? Of course, Nathan replied, his throat tight. They left at dawn. The forest was still dripping from the night storm fog, curling between the cedars like ghosts. Nathan drove while Chloe sat beside him, Zoe asleep in the back seat. For hours they drove north through endless pine and mist. Nathan kept checking the mirrors. At every turn, he expected headlights that never came. "You think we lost them?" Chloe asked softly. "For now." She watched his hands on the steering wheel. Steady, sure, but pale. "You've done this before," she realized. He didn't answer. When they finally stopped for gas near Spokane, the sky had begun to clear. Chloe took Zoe to the restroom, while Nathan filled the tank. That's when he noticed a black SUV across the lot. Two men sat inside, one on the phone, the other watching him. His stomach sank. They'd been found. He didn't move immediately, just stared at them, memorizing faces, plates, gestures. Then, calm as ever, he put the pump back, climbed into the car, and pulled away. "Everything okay?" Chloe asked. "Yeah," he lied. But in the rearview mirror, the SUV followed. By the time they reached the Idaho border, the pursuit became clear. The same SUV, 2 cars behind. Nathan pushed the accelerator, heart hammering. The road narrowed into mountain turns, rain returning in sheets. Chloe realized what was happening. "They're following us." "Hold on," Nathan said. He swerved off the main highway onto an old logging road, gravel spraying under the tires. Branches clawed at the windshield as the forest swallowed them. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere they can't follow easily." The SUV's headlights flared in the distance. Nathan turned sharply onto a slope that led to an abandoned ranger station. He killed the engine, plunging them into silence. For several tense seconds, only rain and breathing filled the car. Zoe stirred awake. "Mom." "It's okay, sweetheart," Chloe whispered, though her hands shook. Nathan checked his gun, a weapon he hadn't touched in years, and looked out into the darkness. "They'll try to track the signal," he muttered. "We have to move on foot." Chloe stared at him. "With a child." "Through the woods. It's pouring. It's either that or they catch us." She hesitated only a moment, then nodded. They trekked through the forest, guided by flashlight beams and instinct. Rain soaked them to the bone. Zoe clung to Chloe, wrapped in Nathan's coat. "Are we in trouble?" she whispered. "No, baby," Chloe said softly. "We're just taking a shortcut." Nathan led the way, every sound amplified, the crunch of branches, the distant rumble of thunder. At one point, he stopped suddenly, signaling silence. Voices drifted through the trees. "They're close," he whispered. Chloe's heart pounded so loudly she thought they'd hear it. Nathan motioned for them to hide behind a fallen log. Seconds later, 2 flashlights swept through the rain. "They couldn't have gone far," one man said. "Keep scanning. The boss wants the kid alive." Zoe whimpered softly. Chloe pressed a hand over her daughter's mouth, trembling. Nathan reached for his gun. The flashlights passed slowly, then faded into the distance. Nathan waited another full minute before speaking. "They'll circle back soon. We move when the thunder hits, cover our noise." Chloe nodded, eyes wide. When thunder cracked across the sky, they ran again, splashing through mud and roots, hearts racing in sync. By dawn, they reached an abandoned cabin deep in the mountains. It was little more than a skeleton of wood and rusted metal, but it was shelter. Nathan barricaded the door and collapsed onto the floor, soaked and shaking. Zoe clung to Chloe, shivering. "Mommy, I'm scared." "I know, baby," Chloe whispered. "It's almost over." Nathan looked at them, his entire world trembling in the half-light, and made a silent promise. "It ends here. Whatever they want, they won't take her." He pulled out a small flash drive from his pocket, the same one he had carried since the day of the explosion years ago. "There's something I never told you," he said to Chloe. "This isn't just about Zoe's blood. It's about what's hidden inside it." Chloe frowned. "What do you mean?" "The mutation the antigen Olivia found. It didn't start with Zoe. It started with me." She froze. "What?" "My father was experimenting with gene therapy, testing a new immunity vector. I was his first subject. Whatever he put in me, I passed it to her." Chloe's eyes widened in horror. "You mean Zoe inherited it?" Nathan nodded. "And now they want it back." Outside, the wind howled through the mountains. In the distance, faint headlights cut through the mist. They were not alone anymore, and the past Nathan thought he'd buried was finally coming to claim its blood. The night was endless. Wind screamed through the broken windows of the old cabin, carrying with it the smell of wet earth and fear. Nathan sat by the door, gun in hand, his breath steady despite the pounding of his heart. Outside, the headlights were closer now, cutting through the trees like blades. Chloe held Zoe against her chest, rocking her gently, even as her own body trembled. "She's cold," she whispered. Nathan threw another log into the fireplace. "They're almost here. We have to move before sunrise." Chloe looked at him, her voice shaking. "Move where, Nathan?" "There's nowhere left to go." He hesitated, then quietly, "There is one place." He led them down a narrow path behind the cabin toward an old steel hatch buried under vines and soil. It groaned as he forced it open. Beneath was a stairway that disappeared into darkness. "What is this?" Chloe asked. "An emergency bunker. My father built it for experiments. It's shielded off-grid. They can't track us down here." They descended the stairs, the air growing cold and heavy. The bunker smelled of dust and metal, but it was safe. For now. Zoe clung to her mother's hand. "Mommy, I'm scared." "I know," baby Chloe whispered, "but Daddy's here." Nathan froze at the word. Daddy. He looked down at his daughter, her wide eyes glimmering with trust. Something inside him broke and healed all at once. Hours passed. The storm raged above while the three of them sat in the bunker's dim light. Nathan spread out papers, schematics, and the flash drive. My father called this project Genesis. He believed he could rewrite human immunity, make us impervious to disease, but he didn't realize the mutation wasn't stable. "So it's dangerous?" Chloe asked. "It's unpredictable," Nathan said. "But in Zoe, it's perfect." Her body balanced what mine couldn't. Chloe's eyes filled with tears. "So they'll never stop hunting her?" "No," Nathan said softly, "unless I end it." Suddenly, a rumble shook the bunker. Dust fell from the ceiling. The cameras flickered. Nathan looked at the monitor. Heat signatures were closing in. "They found us." He turned to Chloe. "Take Zoe. There's a tunnel on the east side. It leads to the river. Follow it until you reach the valley. Don't stop for anything. What about you?" "I'll hold them off." "No." Chloe grabbed his arm. "You can't." He cupped her face gently. "I can. Because everything I ran from ends tonight." Tears filled her eyes. "Nathan." He kissed her fierce, desperate reel. "For every word I never said, for every moment I stole from us, remember this." Then he turned and climbed the stairs. Outside, the forest burned with headlights. Men in black tactical gear surrounded the cabin. Nathan stepped out, drenched in rain and moonlight. He raised his gun, eyes blazing with defiance. "Mr. White," a voice boomed from the loudspeaker. "We only want the child," Nathan shouted back. "You can't have her." "Don't make this difficult." "I was born in difficulty," he said, and fired. Gunfire erupted. The night became chaos, light sound, rain, and fire. Nathan moved like a ghost through the trees, outnumbered but relentless. Each shot bought Chloe and Zoe another second, another breath. He was hit once, then again. But he didn't stop. He fought until the magazine clicked empty and silence returned, heavy and final. He sank to his knees, the forest spinning. Rain washed the blood from his hands. His vision blurred, but then he heard it, laughter faint, carried on the wind. Zoe's laughter. He smiled. They made it. Dawn came slow. The storm was gone, replaced by a pale gold sky stretching over the valley. Chloe and Zoe emerged from the tunnel hours later, covered in mud, but alive. From the ridge, Chloe looked back. Smoke rose from the forest, thin and gray. She didn't need to see to know. Zoe tugged her hand. "Mommy, where's Daddy?" Chloe knelt down, her eyes wet. "He's with us, sweetheart." In here. She placed Zoe's small hand over her heart. He gave us our tomorrow. Zoe nodded, though she didn't fully understand. The wind brushed her curls across her face, and for a moment, the sunlight caught her eyes bright, fierce, alive. Months later, the world had moved on. The scandal faded. The media turned elsewhere. But in a quiet valley in Oregon, Chloe and Zoe lived in a modest farmhouse near the river. Every morning, Zoe helped water the garden, her laughter echoing through the hills. Her health had stabilized. Olivia visited often, continuing quiet research under the radar. The mutation had become something else, a gift, not a curse. One evening, Chloe sat on the porch watching Zoe chase fireflies. She opened Nathan's old leather journal, the one he had hidden in the USB case. Inside were pages filled with notes, sketches, and a final line written in his steady hand. Love isn't about running. It's about staying even when you can't. Chloe closed the book, tears falling softly. But for the first time, they were tears of peace. She looked up at the fading light, whispering, "You stayed, Nathan. You stayed." When the sun finally rose over the valley, its first light fell on a small girl chasing hope across the grass, and a woman who had learned that love never truly dies. It transforms. Sometimes the people we lose never leave us. They live on in laughter, in courage, in the tiny miracles we protect every day. So hold your loved ones close. Tell them the words you keep saving for tomorrow, because one day tomorrow won't wait. And love the kind that survives everything is the only thing worth leaving behind.